different lands we gather, hearts of fire all along. Oh, big Nick, 'cause we follow through the storm and through the fight. For Valhalla we will borrow strength and might under moonlight. Warriors of the ancient sea, songs of glory dark and bold. In the night, our spirits free, legends born, tales unfold. Oh, big because we follow through the storm and through the fight. For Valhalla we will borrow strength and might under moonlight. From horizons wild we roam, with thunder in our soul. Every battle brings us home to the stories ages told. Oh, big Nick, 'cause we follow through the storm and through the fight. For Valhalla we will borrow strength and might under moonlight.
Hey, folks. Yeah, I don't know what happened. All of a sudden, Rumble Studio decided to close down the YouTube stream. I have no idea why. And that's really unfortunate because I had decent numbers. I have no idea what happened. So yeah, now I'm pissed off at both StreamYard and Rumble Video. So now I have to go back a while. Dun dun dun. Dun dun dun. Or this one. And show comments there. Preemptive copyright strike. I have no idea. I see nothing of the sort. So I do not know what happened. I have no clue. So I'm still trying to fix with dun dun dun. Dun dun dun. Dun dun dun. Okay. Sorry, folks, for starting over. I was planning on cutting out the different the opening statements into separate videos, and now it has to be a full-on edit. Oh, yeah. All right, folks. I did go back a bit, and we will just restart. Thank you for coming over somewhat, at least a few of you. All right, let's go.
Club is. That's Gino Norris in front walking up, his friend. And again, this is for an after party. And you'll see Mr. Jones will start live streaming with his phone. again advertising his location.
At this rate, this prosecutor will go
This is
until
from another
lunch.
location, and you can see the Chevy Cruze up in the top part of the screen. And now, in the top of the screen, the hooded individual, the defendant, and Mr. Chance conducting more surveillance. Walking as a couple, so they're not threatening, they don't stand out. With her phone to his ear. And now they walk back again past the club. Mr. Jones and his friends leaving. The Impala on the top of the screen. This is that's across the street. You'll find in the evidence that the victim and his entourage go down the parking lot, they do a U-turn, they come back out, they end up heading east and then doing a U-turn and going back west.
If he goes over the call records, then I'm going to play this. Well, I can actually do that. We are a bit behind because
The
my
Impala just
commentary.
crossed the street, now it's back up at that stop sign in the upper right-hand corner.
Okay, we're now playing in 1.25 speed.
And you'll see it'll just sit there for a while. Mr. Jones and his friends coming down the stairs. A lot of people milling about, a lot of cars. The evidence will show. Finally, they leave or start to leave. And they come back. Charger followed by the Hyundai, followed by the Altima.
This is way too detailed for an opening statement, folks. Way too detailed.
On the top of the screen, Mr. Jones' Charger is going to do a U-turn and go back westbound, followed by the Hyundai and the Altima. There goes the Cruise, heading the same direction.
Yeah, this isn't opening statement anymore. This is just describing
This is the
what's been
intersection of
shown.
McKinley.
This is narration. A narration usually
I'm going to play through it. This is the
is
intersection of
not
McKinley
allowed.
and Fowler. This is the Home Suites and Holiday Inn complex in the upper right-hand corner. Directly across the street is USF. There's an Embassy Suites there. That is Mr. Jones' car doing a U-turn and going back on McKinley, and you'll see it turn into the hotel complex, followed by the Hyundai and the Altima. And as you can see, there is no car visible except for those oncoming lights now coming up the northbound side. That is the Chevy Cruze. It goes eastbound. No other car on McKinley can be seen. It's not even in sight. The Chevy Cruze ends up going eastbound, then comes back westbound, turns northbound. There it is, into that parking lot. And now several minutes later comes the Impala, which, this is the assault team. Does a U-turn, you will see, goes southbound on McKinley, following the path of Mr. Jones and his entourage, and pulls directly into that hotel. That car wasn't anywhere to be seen when Mr. Jones and his entourage were going in there. But the Chevy Cruze was there with this defendant and Mr. Chance, providing critical intelligence to them with this defendant's phone.
Okay. Show that. Show that. They supplied with critical information. Show it.
Once it pulls in, you'll start seeing cameras from different locations within the complex mounted on the Home to Suites surveillance system that'll pick up the Impala's path as it travels. So the Chevy Cruze, at one point after the Impala goes in, blows through a red light on Fowler to get over there and turn in to the hotel. By that point, the Impala is all the way around on the west side, you will find in the evidence of the hotel, and setting up for the attack. But now the Cruze has to come, the evidence will show, to drive by and confirm where is Mr. Jones.
Are they in the Altima or are they in the Cruze?
The red marker is the Impala and its path. It comes in, it goes northbound, it goes westbound, it goes southbound around the Holiday Inn, down across the south end side of the Holiday Inn, back to the east, and then it parks. First it goes down, you can see that red arrow next to the Home to Suites on the west side. It kind of pulls down there, it has to back up and pulls in. When the blue markers is the Chevy Cruze, when that pulls in and pulls around and does the three-point turn, you're going to see in the video evidence right here, they pass within feet of each other at the same time. And of course, the Impala never goes around or reveals itself past that point, keeping out of sight of Mr. Jones and his entourage. This is a camera mounted on the east side of the Home to Suites, pointing to the southeast, and it is picking up the Impala now, pulling into the complex and going northbound on the east side of the hotel. This is going to go to a camera facing north-northeast, showing it passing, still going northbound. And then it turns back to the west. This is a camera that's mounted on the north side of the home to suites that picks up the Impala as it passes and turns towards the west. And now the Impala is on the west side of the hotel. There's this pool and this patio area here that's on the west side of the hotel. Going around this way would be the portico. This is the west side of the hotel. The charging stations are right here. And you can see the Impala comes and stops. It does not go around that southern end of the home to suites. It's avoiding the southern end at this point. And here comes the Chevy Cruze passing directly past in the car that's not known by anyone, the victim. Goes to the north where the Impala is, goes right past the Impala, does a 3-point U-turn and comes back. This is another camera picking up the Impala and the Cruze. That's on the Tesla, part of its security system. You'll see the Cruze kind of do a little turn there, back up and come back to the south. I don't know if you saw that or not, the Cruze is turning around, but the Impala is pulling into a spot over here at the same time as it passes back by.
Objection, Your Honor. This is cumulative.
Overruled. It's just opening statement. Go ahead.
So now the Cruze is coming back, doing one last.
How is this not cumulative? We have already seen this exact video already. He just adds new narration with the same video. Hey, Foxboy, welcome. First time you managed to catch a live. Yay! You almost didn't, because I was on Rumble Studios streaming from that platform. When Rumble Studios or something else closed down the YouTube stream. So I had to restart. And apparently you got that... you were notified. So, hey, thank you for being here.
Last pass, and now we're within seconds of the attack, the murder itself. You can see individuals at the top of the screen moving. You're going to see them run by the front of the Tesla, getting into position. There's the third shooter, Davion Murphy. And now they come around, the pistol shooter, Rashad Murphy, and the shooter on the top of the screen right there is Sean Gathright. You see the collision between the Altima and the Hyundai as they're trying to get out of there. You see Mr. Murphy come out of hiding and Mr. Gathright opening fire. You'll see Mr. Gathright and Mr. Murphy running back to the north. And you saw that there's the muzzle flashes of Mr. Davion Murphy's rifle. And you saw the Charger going to the north. That's the Charger picked up by the Tesla cameras heading north. There goes Mr. Rashad Murphy. There goes Gathright. And there's Davion Murphy.
They have not been convicted. How? I don't get it. How are they allowed to say this is that person, and that person as facts when they aren't even convicted? She's the first one facing trial in all of this. Hey, from Australia. Thank you, Spire member for 9 months. Yeah, timelines are...
And you can kind of see the blocky image of the brass catcher on the side of that rifle. Another view from the Tesla of Davion Murphy running back to the Impala. This attack was relentless, as you saw. They weren't going to stop. They were going to make sure that they killed Mr. Jones, that he was not going to live, that they were not going to go back to Jacksonville without him dying. And you saw that relentless attitude of these defendants as they were shooting. This is the Airbnb. That's a photograph of, well, actually, this is a video. So this is the night they get there. This is Saturday, the 22nd, the defendant entering. There's no volume on this, but when she walks in, someone says, my bad. Mr. Chance having maybe a celebratory drink. This is the next day around 2:30, 3. You can see he has to keep knocking. The person getting in that silver car is an Uber driver who they have called. That is how they returned to Jacksonville. The defendant, Mr. Chance, and Mr. Murphy this time returned to Jacksonville. Now they're unloading, bringing out all of their kit and their gear, their weapons. There's Mr. Davion Murphy. Now they're getting sloppy because it's the next day and all of the conspirators are visible. There's Mr. Murphy trying to go back in. Mr. Gathright walking out with gear. They don't they don't leave the way they came. They flee from this murder separately and in a different format. That's Mr. Gathright. He leaves independent of the others in the Impala.
Objection, Your Honor. Counsel's narrating the evidence, stuff that's not even been introduced, Your Honor.
Well, because it's opening statement. He's just telling the jury what he believes the evidence will show. So I'm going to overrule the objection.
You can see Mr. Gathright goes over to the side, to the back, and that's how they got in the day before. The evidence will show Mr. Gathright, Sean Gathright, whose house they all started at with the Impala. He leaves, but he doesn't go back to Jacksonville. Mr. Gathright drives across I-4 to Polk County, to Auburndale, to his grandmother's house, where he switches cars. He leaves his Impala at his grandmother's house, and he takes her Toyota 4Runner, and he drives out to Orlando, where he goes out that night to a club, and he posts a photograph of him drinking Don Julio tequila, which is a diss to Charles Jones. Charles
No, I don't have it. I have the Gonzalez one. I was just, damn, is that the one I have? No, but luckily it wasn't. Sorry. I thought I had the same tequila here.
Jones, Julio Foolio, was known in all of his social media to drink Don Julio. That's where the name came from. He was notorious for that.
A lot of people drink Don
Mr.
Julio.
Gathright drives over.
We have Don
switches
Julio
cars, goes
over
to Orlando,
here.
Then he ends up in Jacksonville. That's Mr. Gathright being picked up on a flock license plate reader system. Oh, this is him coming. This is on June 22nd. You can see 7:39. He's in Hillsborough County. So 6:23, he's eastbound on I-4 at 4:13, eastbound on I-4. This is the Sunday after the shooting. 6:25, southbound Florida 559, and Fred Jones Parkway in Polk County. This is Mr. Gathright arriving at his grandmother's house in Opal Avenue in Auburndale. You're going to see him walk in. You see the Chevy Impala, the assault car, sitting in the driveway. Law enforcement go there later. They get this video of Mr. Gathright switching cars. You're going to see him wiping down the Impala before he leaves.
So they masked themselves and then they did everything else in front of cameras. I mean, this entire opening statement should not have been more than 20, 30 minutes tops. And here we
There he
are.
is leaving in the 4Runner, saying goodbye to his grandmother. That 6:26 date in the upper right-hand corner is wrong, 6:23. The defendant and her boyfriend, Mr. Chance, and Mr. Rashad Murphy, who had come there in the Chevy Cruze with his cousin, Davion Murphy. Now Rashad Murphy traveled with them in that Uber. There's the Uber receipt, $187, 3 hours, 25 minutes, 208 miles from Gazebo Pond to Chipperfield Lane in Jacksonville. You see the route on the left, they go up 75 and they cut through I-10, heading up to Jacksonville. The Uber driver in this case will testify to you that he picked up 3 people at an Airbnb in Tampa and dropped them off at Sean Gaithright's house in Jacksonville. That this defendant and Mr. Chance sat in the back seat and the whole way they're on their phones and they're not wearing a mask. This is them arriving at Sean Gaithride's house. He's in Orlando or in Auburndale at his grandmother's house. Again, Miss Andrews is not wearing a mask. She's unloading along with Mr. Chance, and you're going to see Rashad Murphy here with some kind of a hat on, like a beret, with the same bags that were loaded up into the Impala. He's handing something now to the defendant. Down on the right through that crepe myrtle plant, you can see Chance in the driver's seat of the car. Mr. Murphy wearing the same jeans that he was wearing when he got arrested 2 days later in Gwinnett County, Georgia, northeast of Atlanta, driving the Chevy Cruze. He was with his girlfriend, Charmaine Steiger. They had picked up a hotel that morning, early in the morning. Law enforcement pick up the tag on flock cameras.
I'm not so sure. Okay.
Norcross, Georgia, and Gwinnett County. In Gwinnett County PD, you will hear from 2 officers from that agency who will tell you, the first officer being the one who arrests Mr. Murphy, that he came into contact in the hotel parking lot, pulls in behind the car, the Chevy Cruze. Mr. Murphy pops out of the driver's seat. He's yelling at him at gunpoint, "Show me your hands, show me your hands." Mr. Murphy doesn't hesitate. He takes off running. The officer chases him and tases him and knocks him down, where other officers stick guns to his head, and then they cuff him.
But what
Wearing the
did
same
she
torn-up
do?
jeans or type of jeans that he's wearing in the photograph.
What
from
did
Jacksonville.
Alicia do?
That's a photograph
We've
of
been on this for
Mr. Rashad Murphy in a Walmart on June 21st.
2 hours.
That you will see in the
We
evidence
have
in
had-
Jacksonville, where he bought a burner phone.
We've been listening to prosecution's opening statement for 2 hours now. And a maximum of 5 minutes, he has done anything that brings Alicia into this. 2 hours.
And he's wearing the same clothes or clothes that are consistent in appearance to the Glock shooter, the person with the Glock switch shooter. You can see he's carrying it. You can see the similarities in the belt. You can see the similarities in the shoes. And you can see he's carrying it in his left hand, which is confirmed through investigation. He is left-handed. The defendant's phone, 904-405-6748. This is a tower hit at 4:40 at the murder scene. She identifies herself as being in that Chevy Cruze, but you don't even need her own words. You can see it in this evidence. She's in that Chevy Cruze, providing the critical last second intelligence to the shooters, to the assault team as they drive out of.
Then show that critical transfer of information. Where is that fucking transfer of information?
The parking lot. Those shooters, when they came around the corner, and the evidence will show, directed their fire directly at the passenger side of that Charger. They knew exactly where Charles Jones was. Now, this is 7/6. This is a couple weeks later. This would be what? 13 days later. This is the defendant, and she's messaging from that Ooh, That's Red Instagram account with Tarnisha. He keep telling me to wait a week. That's why I've been sitting. She's talking about Mr. Chance, and she's sitting at his house. The person she's messaging, just have them bring you tomorrow. Okay, why wait a week? Down at the bottom, to make sure no police sitting around before I go there. Did you get your phone? No, the lady said, the detective said we have to wait, but if until his charge dropped, but that's weird, it was only resisting arrest. So Mr. Chance had been arrested for resisting arrest, and they had obtained during a search warrant of that house, they had obtained the defendant's phone, and this is about her getting her phone back. Ms. Tarnisha responds, oh, July 6th, well, let them keep that phone. And Ooh, That's Red, this defendant texts back or messages back, yes, that's what I said, laughing my ass off, LMAO. It was a whole different one. Oh, well. Okay, now this is later, July 9th. Police here looking for you. the defendant messages back. Where are they at now? Waiting outside. Oh, okay. Oh, never mind. She texts back, WYM. I don't see them no more. And then the defendant, not text, messages back. They somewhere waiting, probably. So what is that all about? Why is she saying it's a whole different one? She's saying that because 2.5 days,
Overruled, go ahead.
2.5 days after this murder, after getting back to Jacksonville, you're going to find from the evidence that this defendant goes and gets a whole new phone. And she gets rid of the phone that she's had for years.
Your Honor, sidebar, please.
Okay.
Yeah, this is getting stupid. This is getting absolutely stupid. This is this passed decency a long time ago. A long time ago. And this is sidebar counter 1. Meh, 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 meh. Yeah, this is. I mean, I've heard a bunch of bad.
Okay, all right, let's take a 5-minute recess, okay?
I've heard some really bad opening statements. Really, really bad. But this one is making narrations about evidence. Now, the evidence will show, yada, yada, yada. Okay. But this is actual narrations about how she thought, what stuff meant. That's narration. Are courts in Sweden anything like American courts? It's not even close. Swedish courts does not have the jury system. We have a system with one judge. In the lower courts, it's one judge and 4 professional jurors, or layman judges, as we call them. And layman judges are appointed for 4 years, in which they attend maybe one trial every quarter or something of the sort. Yeah. As Mrs. Kegrift says, it's supposed to be a roadmap, not a detailed account of the entire road trip. This is really bad. Okay, now we can skip ahead a bit.
Okay, very good. Everyone's present, so let's go ahead and bring the jury back now, all right?
So you're using Russian records.
Okay.
Somebody was hard, you want me to? let
Yeah,
her-
no, we'll take a lunch break.
Okay, I'm gonna let her
Yeah,
get lunch.
that's fine. So, defense will do their opening, and then we'll take our lunch recess.
How will they have time to do their opening statement when it's half an hour to lunch? You allowed the prosecution to repeat itself, narrate, speculate for 2 hours, of which less than 5 minutes was about the defendant. I don't know, maybe they cut him off. But I mean, the damage is done. She was okay with everything, and all of a sudden, sidebar, and he's done? No, he's not done.
Please report. So the defendant disposes of her phone that she has had for years. The same phone that she and Isaiah Chance were utilizing to convey intelligence and information on the whereabouts of Charles Jones to the assault team. A phone that to this day has never been found or located. You will hear in this evidence that this defendant did everything that she could in the days after this murder to protect herself and to defend and protect the conspiracy that she was part of. On July 9th of 24, two detectives, homicide detectives, Aaron Campbell and Juan Ramos, the lead detective in this case from the Tampa Police Department's homicide unit, travel to Jacksonville, and they meet with this defendant at the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office. You'll see a video recording of their interview of her. The first thing they do is read her rights, and they ensure that she understands her rights, and she says she does. And then they start interviewing her, and she immediately starts lying to the police. Lying to them.
Argument, Your Honor.
Again, Mr. Harmon, just, you need to phrase it that you believe the evidence will show. Okay? Overruled.
Why is it overruled if you correct him, Your Honor? Why did you overrule the objection when you correct the prosecution? That is a sustained objection. What the fuck is going on here? Judge, come on. This is bad. This is really bad.
And the facts in this case and the evidence, that video will demonstrate to you.
Sure. We'll move, strike the word lying.
Okay.
Rephrase, Mr. Harmon.
Yes, Your Honor. The evidence will show that she makes statements to the police that are false, multiple statements. The evidence will show she lies to them over and over and over in this interview. She lies about her knowledge of these gangs. She lies about her knowledge of who Julio Foolio is. And you're going to see in the evidence that not only does she know who he is, she's known who he is for years. She has animosity towards him. You'll see that in the evidence. But she lies about simple facts that are easily rebutted. Namely, she lies about knowing this guy, Sean Gathright, the individual whose house she left from to come to Tampa, the individual who was driving the Chevy Impala that she was sitting in for almost 3.5 hours driving to Tampa on the 22nd, the individual who was best friends with her boyfriend, Isaiah Chance. She's shown that photograph. I don't know who that is. I don't know who that is. And you will see in the evidence that these lies are nonchalant lies. Her demeanor with these homicide detectives. They show her video. They show her all this video. And in the middle of this litany of lies that's coming out of her mouth, there's a couple little kernels of truth. Namely, she identifies herself in the teaser's video in the parking lot with Isaiah Chance wearing the mask. She identifies herself in the Truth 18 video. She identifies herself, like I said earlier, at the McDonald's in the Chevy Cruze. But she doesn't know who Davion Murphy is. They ask her, well, who is this guy? How did he end up driving this car that you're in? I don't know. Now, on the 26th of June, this is in Jacksonville. This is Jacksonville Sheriff's Office. They pull that 4Runner over, Sean Gathright driving, and they pull him over for a traffic infraction. They get him out of the car, and they end up searching that 4Runner. And inside of the 4Runner, they find several items: Glock magazines, a Glock extended magazine, components for AR-15 rifles, including a brace, magazine holders, ammunition, and a box full of empty .223 and 5.56 shell casings. Now, you're going to hear in the evidence, if you're not already aware of this, that a 5.56 rifle, an AR rifle, can shoot .223 ammunition. They're almost interchangeable. And there's multiple empty casings in this box. They also find these two boxes, each containing 50 rounds of 9mm ammunition. Max Tech. On the top of the cartridge casings, on the head stamp, where the primer is MXT for Max Tech. That is the exact same ammunition as the 9mm shell casings found in the crime scene. All of those shell casings found, and there was 31 of them found outside of the home to suites. They're all Max Tech, all the same ammunition, the same as these is ammunition found in Mr. Gathwright's vehicle.
So?
And I'll come back to that. These shell casings 223.5.56. Those shell casings are later provided to the Florida Department of Law Enforcement, which is a statewide agency here in the state of Florida that maintains crime laboratories throughout the state. We have one right here, a regional laboratory here in Tampa, and there's one in Jacksonville, and they're both involved in this case. And they are submitted to the firearms section, to firearms analysts, who analyze those shell casings, comparing them to the shell casings from the October 7th attack on Charles Jones, where he was shot in the leg. And they are fired from the same weapon. The analyst will tell you. They were fired from the same weapon. She will tell you that was shell casings. She examines them microscopically and compares them and looks at markings that are left on the shell casings, markings that are left by the breech face of the gun, by the extractor ejectors inside the firearms, and by primer shear, as it's called, when the primer goes off. And by primer, talking about this little dot here in the middle of the gun where the firing pin hits, causing a very teeny explosion that then ignites the gunpowder inside the shell casing, the gunpowder that sits behind the bullet and pushes it out. She examines all of those areas, and she came to the conclusion those were fired from the same gun that was used to attack Charles Jones on October 7th in Jacksonville. Sean Gathwright's house. There's the forerunner. A search warrant is executed on that house in the days after this murder. And one of the things they find in the sink in water is all this torn up packaging. And when they start looking at the packaging, it's all firearm related. That is a Sig Sauer Romeo 05 package. These are Magpul, which is a firearms manufacturer of components for AR-15 rifles, also manufacturer of magazines. They find basically an arsenal within this house. And what they determined from their search is that Sean Gathwright, was the weapons man on this team. He is the man that provided the AR-15 5.56 caliber rifle and the AR-15 300 blackout rifle in this attack. There are ammo boxes full of 300 blackout and 5.56 ammunition. In this safe, they find multiple weapons to include rifles and brass.
Interesting. Is any of this hers? Does any of these have her fingerprints? Has she been seen with the guns, shooting the guns? What the fuck does this have to do with her involvement?
That is a brass catcher. It has a wire structure with netting or mesh, and it's designed to be fitted onto a rifle where when the shell is ejecting, like I said earlier, the casings remain in that mesh. And in this mesh, this detached brass catcher, they found two 9mm shell casings that somehow worked their way in there. Those shell casings are Max Tech ammunition, the same kind of ammunition that's found in this defendant's, Mr. Gathwright's forerunner. Those shell casings are submitted to the Florida Department of Law Enforcement, to the firearms section for analysis, and they're analyzed, and they're compared to a shell casing from our crime scene, and the firearms examiner will tell you they were fired from the same weapon, a Glock firearm. That weapon was not recovered in this case. It was never found. They find this rifle, 300 blackout, with...
Hi, John. Yeah, I agree. To be fair, he needs to prove they did it before they can connect her to it. Yeah, but aren't we going in the wrong direction then? Because they're not there to prove, the jury is here to prove her guilt. Other juries will determine the other's guilt. And this is, I mean, we are closing in on 2.5 hours of opening statement of something that could have been done in 20 to 30 minutes.
With the brass catcher attached. And when I say brass, brass, if you don't already know, and you'll hear in the evidence, is a common term for shell casings. Once they're fired and they come out of the gun, it's called brass. It's just a common way of referring to those. And so the brass catcher is still attached to this firearm. and you see it on the opposite side. This firearm is also located, this 5.56, and that brass catcher, as I said, had been detached already. There are multiple magazines located and loaded magazines. Those are loaded with 300 blackout 30 caliber rounds. Ammo boxes, this is back at the sheriff's office in Jacksonville, where this ammunition was inventoried after collection from Mr. Dathwright's house. And you can see all of the different type of ammunition he had. Now, July 27th, that individual sitting in the rain, kneeling there at gunpoint, is Isaiah Chance. Officers arrived at that residence, his residence, and placed him under arrest for the murder in this case. And there is the defendant being brought out of the same house where she was with Mr. Chance. Davion Murphy, this is after his arrest months later, after being dragged out of an apartment in Jacksonville, Florida. Now, why am I showing you this photograph of the defendant? This is the defendant. This is Miss Andrews.
So? Oh!
In the interview with the officers, in the very beginning of the interview, the officers are asking her about Isaiah Chance, her boyfriend. Isaiah Chance's street name, gang name, and social media name is Gutta, or Gutta Man, G-U-D-D-A. And they're calling him Gutta. And this is the defendant's response in the interview. Why are you calling him that? Why are you calling him Gutta? Like, you're idiots. Why are you calling him Gutta? Saying those words.
Okay, again, Mr. Harmon, just keep your statements
And
as
that's a
far as.
misstatement of the evidence, Your Honor.
Pardon me?
And that's a misstatement of the evidence.
Okay, well, when the jury, again, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, as I told you, what the attorneys say in the opening statement is not the evidence, and you're not to consider it as such. They're just telling you what they believe the evidence will be. You will be the ultimate decision makers regarding the evidence and any weight that it carries, okay? All right, go ahead.
The evidence
Okay. Now, this is the second time the judge has to admonish the prosecutor. Why are you giving him more chances? This, when you have to admonish, it's done. Thank you. Sit your ass down. Jesus.
will show that as those words are leaving her lips, tattooed on her body, underneath her clothes, is the name Gutta. Not only on her chest, but on her neck. Over the next week, the state of Florida, through the evidence that we will present to you, we will drag this conspiracy out of the darkness of the early morning hours. We will drag it into this courtroom for everyone to see, for everyone to know its evil and sinister and murderous nature. It will be exposed, and there will be no masks for this defendant to wear to hide from the state's evidence. The truth in this case, the truth will be clear, crystal clear, at the end of the state's case. There will be no Uber drivers waiting to whisk Miss Andrews away to avoid your verdict when you find her guilty. Guilty of conspiring with these four men, and guilty as a principal to first-degree murder. And folks, the state's evidence will let every single one of you know deep in your hearts that that is the truth, that she conspired in this wicked and despicably evil, cold-blooded murder, that she followed this man, watched him, encouraged her co-defendants by her actions and words, tried to find lodging, that she assisted in every way, and then, after the fact, did everything she could to defend this conspiracy. At the end of this case, there will be no doubts in your minds. There were discussions in the last couple of days about proof beyond a reasonable doubt. The state's case will prove to you clearly, beyond any doubt, that this defendant, Alicia Andrews, as she sits over here in this courtroom right now, is guilty of conspiring and committing first-degree murder.
All right, defense, you wish to make an opening statement at this time? Pardon me? Okay.
This was 2 hours too long, and I can't believe he was allowed to do all of this. I cannot believe the judge allowed this. To narrate. Yes, what he says is not evidence. It's up to the jury. But seriously, there has to be a limit. All right, let's... Oh, sidebar. Sidebar counter 2. All right, let's speed through this.
And, okay, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, it's 11:40, and the defense is to be given the same amount of time as the state in their opening statement if they wish. So because of that, as opposed to making you all wait to go eat
Oh, why is the judge saying that in that tone?
lunch, we're going to go ahead and take an early lunch, and then when we come back at 12:40, there's going to be 1 hour lunch recess, then we will pick up with the defendant's opening statement, okay? All right, so just remember my previous instructions, not to discuss the case amongst yourselves or with anybody. Don't read, watch, listen to any news or social media. Don't do any independent investigation on your own about the case, and we will reconvene at 12:40, all right? Thank you.
All right.
Jesus. Yeah, I did not like how the judge allowed the prosecution to go this far. Yeah, how dare the defense ask for the same amount of time? How?
At 12:40.
Yeah. The judge is being annoyed that the defense couldn't do it before lunch. For fuck's sake. Folks, we got ourselves a clusterfuck. Oh, okay. I need to grab myself something to eat. I will set up a new stream for the defense, opening statements, and the rest of the day. But I need to get something to eat. Yeah. All right, folks. I will see you back here in about 40 minutes. So I will get myself something to eat, clear my head, and I will start a little earlier so we can talk about what happened during the morning, because this is not good. This is not good at all. All right. Thank you guys for being here, and I will see you back here in about 40 minutes. Okay? See ya. Bye-bye.